Hey everyone, I'm Steven and this is The Sound of Tech. It's been a couple years since I've posted on this channel at all, so if you don't know me, I completely understand that. Today I want to talk about iPads. There's been a lot of talk recently about how Apple hasn't released a new iPad in 2023. That reminded me of something. A couple years ago I actually wrote a review for the iPad Pro. This is the 2018 model, the 11-inch. And I wanted to go through and I guess talk about my experience with iPad, and especially one that is now approaching 6 years old. So, overall, the iPad has been an amazing product for me. I bought it initially when I was in school, just because I got sick of carrying all these textbooks and everything in my bag. And the iPad was pretty much amazing for that. Like, I was able to have my textbook on one side of the screen and my notes on the other. I have an Apple Pencil. I use all that, and even now that I'm not studying it, still, I still find myself pulling my iPad out to do little things, whether it's, Google searches or writing notes. One of the weird things that I do is I'm trying to explain something, and the easier thing for me to do is just grab my iPad and draw it, like where we're positioning furniture in the house, or those sort of things. And the iPad has been great. This one especially. There's a couple key things that I love. One, the Apple Pencil. It's just easy to use. It's by far the best stylus I've ever used. I wouldn't even call it a stylus, like, in some sense, because it just feels a part of the iPad. It doesn't feel like an additional accessory that you bought for it. I've never had an issue with the Apple Pencil. I've never had to worry about connecting it because it just sits magnetically on my iPad. I don't have to think about it at all. And that probably is what I think most about the iPad is. Similar to my iPhone, I just want it to work. My computer, I don't mind playing around with, installing programs that I like, all that stuff, but my iPad is just very simple. Some games, some movies, some notes, and that's pretty much it. And yeah, I'm going to go through some of the things that I wrote and talk about them, because I think most of what I wrote is still pretty relevant, and I think it explains a lot about the current experience of iPad. First thing I talked about was just the build of the iPad, and I still agree that a lot of the new designs that have been around for 6 years are still just as good as when they came out. This one in particular has the full screen, no notch, just the bezel all the way around the outside. And I find that it looks still very modern, and also it's one of the few bigger screen Apple devices without a notch on it anymore. You have the MacBook Pros with a notch on it. This is just so good. Incorporates Face ID, which is amazing. This one doesn't have any of the Touch ID or anything, but most of the time I pick up my iPad, it doesn't actually matter what way you're using it. Like, I'm using it upside down right now, and it literally doesn't matter. You can swipe up as soon as you get into it, not a hassle in the world, and it's still up to date with the latest software. I do not think about how I open this. I have to make sure I pull my iPhone out the right way, but the iPad I can pick up sideways, I can pick up upside down, whatever way, and Face ID just recognizes me, swipe up to unlock. It's so easy. I personally have the 11-inch model, and I think for me this is the best size iPad. I can see some of the appeal for the iPad mini, you can see some of the appeal for the larger iPad, but I think overall this 11-inch area is pretty good. And I think that's exactly why the iPad Air of nowadays would probably be my go-to choice. It's this size, it still has many of the great features. One of the great features I wrote about is the Type-C port. Now, I know not many people will probably use it, but I actually use it for connecting storage, connecting monitors. I've used it to use Ethernet adapters, all that sort of thing. I have a MacBook Pro that has USB-C, so I do have some of the adapters for it, and it's great because now with iPad OS, most of those things work. I have a audio interface on my desk that sometimes I plug in and I can record audio, listen to music through it. It just works. I don't have to think about it at all, and that's awesome. Now, there are some things that I probably do on my iPad that not everyone does. I've edited videos in DaVinci Resolve on the iPad, and while I definitely put it on my computer to finish the project off, it starts on here. Drag, drop, clip up. It's really easy, and the ability to connect a wired or a Bluetooth keyboard up to this means that I can access extra settings. I can use my keyboard shortcuts just as normal. And yeah, it's really good on the go. I can plug an adapter with a keyboard and a hard drive and just edit on my couch. And then, yeah, plug it into a monitor, have a look, check it out later, render it all in here. While the newer iPads have the M series processors, I don't really feel the need to upgrade. I'm starting to get there, and as soon as this thing stops getting software support, I will. But this chip in here runs perfectly fine. My MacBook is about the same age, and it's running much slower than my iPad is. I have found basically the way I use the iPad is when I want a screen that's bigger than my phone, but I don't want to pull out and start up my computer and all of that stuff. The iPad just works for this sort of thing. Now I just want to talk about the software on the iPad for a minute. I think everyone sort of understands how to use an iPad. They're at that stage, it's sort of like an iPhone, is most people can pick it up and just have it work. And it's the same thing with the iPad. In iPad OS, there are some additional features that you can use if you really want to, like your multitasking, your file storage, all that sort of thing. But I think the best part is that I could give this to my grandfather and he can just start using it. Like, it's not complicated. It's just like a good chunk of the phones that everyone is using nowadays. And it's just easy. And that is probably the word that I've used most in this video. It's just easy. The iPad is a great addition. And to some extent it replaces my computer, but I never thought about wanting the iPad as my computer. There are certain jobs that I just need my computer for, but this is a great addition so that it sits right in between my phone and my computer. And with the Apple ecosystem, it's amazing that I can just copy things on my phone and paste them straight onto my iPad. I can take screenshots and send them straight to my iPhone. I can start documents on here and then open it straight on my MacBook. Yeah, it's honestly, I've felt no need to get rid of this, and I've felt no need to even upgrade it. It's just great. It just works together. It's easy for anyone to use. Now, the issue that we have most of the time now is with the value. So I've worked in mobile phone retail, and the one iPad that I would recommend the most is the iPad Air at the moment. The Pros have become these really sort of business art focused devices in my opinion, and they are just a bit too expensive. That you're paying the same amount as your phone on an iPad. But the iPad Air, I haven't really used it a whole lot, but that was always my recommendation, is you get many of the amazing features that the older Pros used to have, but on the same size device, on a cheaper device. Overall, I would still recommend that for most people if you're looking at it, I guess a bit of a recommendation. So overall, I think I haven't felt too bad about Apple not releasing a new iPad this year. Because while the past couple of years have been tempting for me as a current iPad user, there's nothing that I desire out of a new iPad. I can't think of a feature that Apple would bring where I like, you know what, that's iPad thing that I want. This is definitely the iPad is definitely not a necessary device like an iPhone is. But it definitely is something that I always love using and I will recommend to anyone. So, thank you guys all for watching today. It's the first video back, so I am a bit rusty, and we'll have hopefully a lot more content to work on over the next several weeks, several months. So if you want to see more content, make sure you subscribe and follow us on social media as well. I'll have all those links down below. And I'm curious, can you leave a comment down below what is your favorite feature of the iPad? Everyone, I hope you have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.